great to see lots of familiar faces here. Really want to say thanks to the steering committee that works on these grant applications and putting this whole process together. I did have the opportunity when I was doing some work with the Community Foundation to participate in that steering committee. I don't currently, but am always happy to help the Community Foundation with a basic grant writing workshop or training. So got some slides here. We're going to go through the slides. I know some of you have been through the training before. So there'll probably be information that you've heard, but hopefully you'll learn something new. We'll go through the slides and then we'll actually go into the application. As Nancy said, this year's grant is a little bit different, where you get to apply for all of the grants that are available. And the application will look quite a bit the same, but definitely want to go through that with you all because there are some changes. So let me just jump right in here. I can get this to work. So with regards to the Community Foundation's Spring 2022 grant application, again, as Nancy had said, the Cochrane, Reese, Boxley, Fox, and Chain of Checks, those are all kind of combined this year into one application. And again, many of you who have applied, it's going to look very much the same as it has in the past. A couple of points as we go through this. This presentation is certainly going to provide information to you about the Community Foundation's grants, but hoping that you all will take the information here and apply it to any other grants or applications that you're writing. And so with that, just some guidelines to kind of follow is to really look at the requirements and make sure they fit for you. And you'll see as we go into the application again, this specifically focuses on different locations. And if you're, for example, in Loudoun County, then don't even apply. Like if you can't check one of the boxes for locations, then just don't apply because you don't qualify. So make sure you read all the information, read everything before you really proceed. I do think that there used to be, I think there still is an option to be able to print a PDF version of the application. So you can always print that, go through and make your, make notes and whatever, and then go back in and add content to the actual online application. Here's a really, really important thing that I cannot stress enough. Please, 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 please. And that's not only for this application, but for any future applications that you apply to, and just overall really trying to, get donations for your organization. If you have not been into GuideStar and created a profile or updated your profile, please, please do that. Sophisticated donors look at your GuideStar profile and make determinations based on funding on that. So on the bottom of this slide here, you see the little seals, the seals of transparency, and there's platinum, gold, silver, and bronze. And based on what you do and how you go through your profile and the information that you provide, you will get a different level of seal. The seal level you want to be at is platinum. That says a lot about your organization. So really want to stress for all of you, definitely go in, look at your profile, update your profile, and really strive to get to that platinum level. The other thing that the Community Foundation requires, and I'm sure you all are doing this already, but there are certain things that the Community Foundation will check to make sure you have and are in good standing. Is the Virginia Registered Charitable Organization with the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, as well as the Virginia SEC. So if you haven't updated or you haven't registered or paid your fee, please make sure you do that, because the Community Foundation will be checking that. And again, you should, whether this application or another, you should be doing those things anyways. Okay, tips on writing the grant. some of these, again, for those who have gone through this before and have been writing grants or writing applications, make sure that your argument and what you're presenting is really clear, makes sense, is cohesive, have it flow. Don't be jumping around on different things just kind of hanging out there, not being clear. Avoid jargon. I know in the nonprofit sector, we've got, COC, we've got, all kinds of acronyms that we use, NSVRC, there's so many acronyms. So don't assume that the readers are going to know what those acronyms are. Make sure that you're really describing and explaining and defining any questionable phrases, words, things like that. So make sure you're thinking about the reader might not have any idea of what you're talking about. Revise. It's just, you start with a draft and then you get to the next version, have somebody else read it. It's not clear, get to the next version. So don't wait to kind of put this off. Really take the time to put forward, a good effort. And again, I would say that don't think about that you're just applying for this grant or this application. Really think about that the content and the program description and your staffing and your evaluation, all that kind of content can really be used for other applications. So for any of the applications that you write, I hope that you all are kind of coming up with almost a master document that includes your organization's, history and your program descriptions and your staffing and, like I said, evaluation, all that kind of stuff. So you should have like a master document that you can, copy, paste, modify as needed. So don't think that your work on this is just for this application. Make sure that there's no edits, grammatical errors, typos, things like that. Have somebody else read your application. Have somebody in your family, a friend, someone who's maybe not familiar with the work that you do or the program. Have somebody else read it and see what they think. Did they understand what you had said? Because if they can't understand it, then the folks that are reviewing it and going to be scoring it are probably not going to understand it either. So take the time to plan your timeline for getting this done to include kind of a third-party unfamiliar reviewer. Be positive, demonstrate, of course, your belief in the project. I think we're all very passionate people that probably can do a good job of making sure that people kind of understand, the amazing work that we do. So as far as attachments, I know that the grant application does allow you to include some attachments. It requires some, but then at the end, it allows you to add a couple of other attachments that you think would be important. And I'm just going to talk about, again, for this application, but also for other applications. You are required to provide a detailed budget for your organization as well as for this program, and you'll see a place to attach that file. I will show you a budget narrative because this does come up as well, and I know having reviewed grant applications in the past, that sometimes the reviewers don't understand what it is that you're, what does that line item in the budget mean? Like, what are you trying to do there? What are you going to be spending that money on? So budget narrative can provide some of that description. I don't think it's required in the grant application, but I would encourage you all to kind of put a little descriptor if you think, again, that the reviewers might not understand. If you say, well, we're going to buy, 50 laptops, and you think there needs to be some description around that, then put some description around it. But on other applications, sometimes they ask for a budget narrative. And I will show you an example just so you kind of get a sense of what that is. your audited financial statements, resumes, and bios for key staff, maybe your board members, an organization chart, list of board members, any brochures or information you have specifically about the program that you're requesting funding for. If you have an annual report or a case statement, any media articles, any letters of support or endorsement. Again, you don't want to overwhelm the reviewers, but if you think for those miscellaneous, I think you get to attach, I think it's up to 2 additional items at the end of the application. If you think that these would be meaningful for the reviewers to kind of look at and get a sense and a better understanding of your organization and the work that you're doing, certainly provide those. And I will just make a side note here with regards to letters of support and endorsement. And this is more for you all when you're applying for other funding sources, whether it's local, state, federal, other foundations, other funders out there. Don't hesitate to get letters of support from partner organizations, from your elected officials, from your board of supervisors, from your congressional person. I have done this in the past, and I think it absolutely makes a difference when you can get those letters of support. And also what it does is it brings those folks into the fold on what you're doing. And they can potentially make you aware of other funding that might be out there for you to explore. So really make sure you're utilizing all of the resources that are out there and building a really strong application, again, that the reviewers can read, understand, see the amazing partnerships you have, the impact you've had, and hopefully, allocate some grant funding for you to continue to do the work you're doing. What dooms a proposal? It's late. I know for this grant, there's the portal, and I think if you don't get it in by the certain date and time, you can't get in. You can't get into the system. It locks you out. So make sure it's not late. Make sure you know what the date and time is, because it will either not allow you to, in this case, not allow you to access the portal that you need to complete the application, or in other cases, they just won't accept it. If they say it's due by, Friday at 5 p.m., if you show up at 5:02, they're gonna say, no, we're not taking it. You didn't follow directions, make sure you read the directions. I know in large grant applications that I've worked on, I'll actually print out the whole application, all of the whole document. I'll print it out and I'll sit down with a highlighter and I'll go through, what are they requiring? What are they asking? What do you need to talk about? What do you need to cover? And really follow all those details. Some grants, again, not necessarily this one, they'll even tell you what the margins need to be, what the font size needs to be, exactly how the envelope needs to be labeled and delivered. So make sure you're paying attention to all those details. We talked about the, kind of a master, application for your organization that you can kind of copy and paste from. Just make sure that, if you do copy and paste, make sure that things are really flowing, and that you're not just kind of copy here and drop in, and then it's really kind of fragmented. So make sure you really do the work to do the editing on that. Make sure if you've got a research-based, evidence-based program, make sure you back that up with documentation. Make sure you're communicating the need and the strategy that you're going to use. But if you're not clear on that, and you're not linking it to your budget, and it's not making sense, like you're asking for $5,000 to do this, and the reviewer reads it and they're like, I don't understand what are they going to do with this? I don't understand. Make sure it's clear. The other thing that I really want to, again, this is a little sidebar that I want to mention, because these grant trainings, I think that, again, they not only serve the community foundation and the community foundation's grant application, but I'm hoping that you all kind of take some of the information from here and use it in your other your other applications that you're searching and applying for. There is a difference between a grant and a request for proposal. So I want to make sure that you all understand that a grant is like the community foundation saying, we've got money, the focus is on, like the Cochrane, the focus is on kids, and we're interested in funding organizations that are doing work related to kids. Tell us what you would do. As opposed to a request for proposal, which is, let's say, for example, Frederick County has a request for proposal. They're going to say, we want this work done. We want these things done. And we want to know if your organization can do these things. And they're going to tell you exactly, for the most part, they'll tell you, what we want, 4 of these things done, 5 of these things done. So it's more of and at the end of that, you're going to get a contract that you're going to have to sign that's going to hold you to what it is you said you were going to do. So again, this here is a grant, but as you look at other applications, make sure that you know what you're applying for. Is it a grant where they're asking you what you would do? Or is it a request for proposal where they're saying, we want these things done? Because those types of applications are going to be different. This is an example of a budget narrative. Again, you guys can, if you just Google search budget narrative, there'll be ones that get, different examples that get pulled up on Google or whatever your search engine is. And you can see here, it just kind of, it breaks down in a little bit more detail so that the reviewers are clear on what that dollar amount is going to be associated with. Like if I look at D, travel, the total amount is $1,689. Again, the reviewer might have no clue why are they spending $1,689 on travel. And here the description will tell them the staff is expected to travel around the country, the state, to visit sites, attend meetings, trainings, conferences, meet with county partners, visit families, etc. The agency reimbursement rate is 0.445, which, gosh, this must be old. And the program director, 300 miles. It gives the details to the reviewer. Again, I don't know that this is necessarily needed for this unless you have kind of a program budget that you think would be clearer for the reviewers to get a better sense of what you're proposing to do with the funding. So, but I did want to just share this with you all because some applications do require a budget narrative. And this is just the second page. Okay, so final thoughts before we jump into, I'll take any questions, but certainly want to also cover go through the application. Plan, make sure you don't wait to the very last minute. Take the time to, to get a draft, revise the draft, get someone to read it. So just make sure you're taking the time to do that. Start the application early. I think this one will be released April 2nd, if I remember correctly. Read the guidelines, follow the directions, write a persuasive, maybe put some stories in there from your families or your clients or whoever you're serving, some testimonies. If for some reason you don't get the funding, again, whether it's this or any other application that you apply for, always, always, always follow up and just ask the question, hey, we didn't receive funding and I'd like to just have a conversation. Is there something we could have done different? Was it not clear? What suggestions do you have for us? Is there anything we can glean and learn from this experience? So please take the time to do that. And I always say this, funders have money, and they want to get the money out to people and organizations that can do the work. They truly do. when you're looking at an RFP, I mean, there's services that are being funded to be provided, or a grant that, you know, the foundation wants to get the money out, and they want organizations to be successful. And so if for some reason you don't get funded, absolutely follow up and have that conversation, and learn something from that, and potentially resubmit again. You know, you just never know. And I mean, I know, and I'm sure many of you who have applied for grants, sometimes you apply 2, 3, 4 times before you actually get a yes. And that's the, you know, don't be discouraged. I think that in the funding grant RFP world, that there's a lot more no's that you get than yeses. So definitely, you know, keep applying, don't give up. And I think at some point we should probably create a little support group for those development folks that get all the no's, because sometimes it is hard to stay motivated and keep applying. So with that, are there any questions? Does anybody have any questions before we jump into the application? You can either just let's see, we've got okay, no questions. All right. Let me see. I am going to now go into the application. So let me get to that. Okay. Share screen. Okay. All right. Can you all see that? Can everybody see that? This is going to look a little bit different. This is kind of like the demo version, but it'll be, you'll see the same thing when you go into yours. You just won't see the sandbox watermark on there. So I'm sure many of you, again, have probably applied through this portal before. And for those who haven't, it's a very user-friendly portal. You have your little house up here, which is the home. If you ever want to get back to this screen, you just hit the little house. When you click apply, and we'll do that here in a minute, when you click apply, it'll take you to the page that will list all the funding that is available to apply for now. And then if you've applied in the past, submitted applications in the past, your organizational history will you should be able to click on that, and it will bring up past applications that you've submitted. We're going to go into apply. And you can see here that this is the grant app. This is the grant application, and if you are wanting to apply, you click the apply button. If it's not open yet, then you won't be able to click that apply button. I see Larry there. Okay, so you can see on this one again, as Nancy had mentioned before, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 opportunities with a plus other opportunities that are available. And again, this is the information that you want to read and follow. Grants are $1,000 to $3,000. If you're looking for more criteria, click here. Talks about the review criteria. Again, as you're applying, make sure, and you're putting your program description together, make sure you're thinking about these 4 bullet points here. It gives you the timeline, so you have the details you need to go forward. So we are going to click the apply button, and we're going to go into this application now. Okay, so again, very user-friendly. It's going to ask you exactly everything that you need to put in here. Your EIN number. Oh, I should mention here that in this description you will see, and it's great to see this, that If you are awarded, selected for a grant, that there will be a thank you luncheon, which will honor the donors to award the grants and celebrate success. And it looks like that's going to be in October, and hopefully for all of us, it'll be in person. It's great to be able to be getting back to in person. I'm just looking at the chat box. So Kathy said the actual date range for the application begins April 4th to May 2nd. So that gives you guys, 4 weeks. It's a good time, but don't wait till the last minute. And then Julie said, we don't qualify for all these grants. How do specify which ones we want to apply for? So maybe Kathy or Nancy or Larry can respond to that, but my understanding is that they will go back to this. Julie, aren't you with Timber Ridge? Julie's with Timber Ridge. So I think Timber Ridge would probably qualify under the Cochrane.
Yeah, Kim, we could do Cochrane and Reese, but not the Boxley Fox, and the chain of checks we were awarded this year. So I'm assuming it's not appropriate for us to apply again.
Yeah, and that's and that's going to be the thing, is the review committee will look at all that. The funders, the families that these funds were set up for or by, have designated specifically how they want the dollars funded. So when you submit your application, the review committee will go through those and figure out where they would most apply based on the specific requirements by the funder. So, but yeah, you guys, yeah, Timber Ridge would qualify under some of that. Okay, EIN. The other thing here, going back to the GuideStar again, go to your profile. What is the level of your organization's GuideStar profile, right? So make sure you put that in there. I would also encourage you all, if you do have gold or whatever, silver, platinum, take that seal and put it in your signature in your email, put it on your website. I mean, that's a pretty big deal to get those seals of transparency, or to get a seal of transparency. But you will need to at least include in here. And you don't want to check this box, profile not established. So do everything you can to avoid that. The 990 or 990 should be on GuideStar or on your organization's website. Again, I'm not going to go through all of these in detail. I think a lot of this is stuff that you guys, is either there or you've already provided that information to the community foundation. But definitely make sure, and as you go through GuideStar, they're going to ask you for some of this stuff. It's part of how you get to the platinum level of transparency. Let's see, mission statement. It's a big box for your mission statement. It should be like 1 or 2 sentences. So don't feel like you have to fill up the whole box. Organization website, you're founded. Okay, here's an important thing. Again, like I was saying earlier, if you are not in Clark County, Frederick County, Warren County, or Winchester, if you're in Loudoun County, you're in Martinsburg, you don't get to go to the next question. So just stop there. Social media, make sure if you've got social media, drop those links in there. Asking questions about continuous improvement, always wanting to make sure that the nonprofit leadership board, executive director, leadership team is really striving for excellence, and wanting to know what is your organization doing to work towards continuous improvement. Do you have a board retreat? Do you have a strategic plan that was created and is regularly reviewed at your board meetings? Do you have a strategic planning committee? Like all of those kinds of things. And feel free to add additional content in this box. Again, these are things that are important for the review committee to kind of get a better understanding of your organization. And likewise, with regards to professional developments, are you a part of the Association of Fundraising Professionals? Do you regularly attend the Nonprofit Alliance Lunch and Learn meetings and the symposium, which we haven't had for a couple of years because of COVID, but are excited to kind of get that back going again? Do you participate in continuum of care? Are there other professional groups that you're a part of? I know that the Discovery Museum, I think there's a Virginia Children's Museum group that meets regularly. I mean, anything like that, put that in here so that, again, the review committee has a better understanding of kind of the work that you're doing and the work that you're doing to really increase the, the professionalism and the excellence of your organization. And we also want to be supporting our staff to build their skills. Make sure you check for this year that you're going to check yes to that you attended this grant training. You're going to put your organizational budget in there. This is for your organization, your profit and loss statement for your organization. Put your financials. Are they on GuideStar? Your organization's website. That's all for the organization. Now we start getting here into the project or program specific information. What is the project or program name? What area does it focus in? Is it new or ongoing? And then a description. And I can't remember what the word count for the description is 1,500 characters. So you got some good space there to put a description in. Again, be clear, concise. Try not to use, if you use an acronym, spell it out first and then use it later. Have somebody else read it, make sure it's clear. Population served. Again, these are all pretty self-explanatory. Number expected to be served, an estimate of the total number expected to receive direct services from this project or program. So how many people will receive direct services? Let's take, I see Andrea's here from CCAP. Andrea's gonna provide, turkeys to, 250 families. Directly, those turkeys will go to those families. Now, she might have another program that has a broader reach, but isn't going to necessarily be directly going to those families. So make sure you put the number of people that you would serve that will receive direct services from you. And then if you need to, you can put a description in here. I should mention that wherever you see these little asterisks, you're required to put an answer in there. The ones without an asterisk does not require a response. Definitely say something about your partnerships. I think it's really important for, no organization can do it all. And I think that, it requires partnerships for us all to kind of effectively provide our services and do the work that we do. So make sure that you include in there, if you're partnering with other organizations, put that in there and put a little description on how you're doing that. That information matters. And again, that's the kind of stuff that you want to include in other applications. And that's where I would reach out to those organizations, say, hey, we're applying for this funding to do this work, and we'd like to get a letter of support for you. We want to make sure we keep partnering with you. Would you provide a letter of support? Those are really important, good things to do. So definitely take the time to put a list of partnerships together and how you partner with them. Volunteers and staff, make sure that you're providing some information regarding the qualifications to ensure the successful implementation. Like if you're wanting to do, I don't know, repair 5 homes and you're going to have one person do it, it's not going to happen. So, make sure that you're clear on, how you're going to make this program project happen. Any participation requirements, if there's limitations based on geography, like if you're only going to serve families in Clark County, only in Berryville, only in Woodstock. Well, Woodstock, Shenandoah County is not on here, but make sure that you put that in there, and any other requirements that you might have. Expected impact. What do you think how is this funding going to impact you know, what's going to happen as a result of it. Make sure you put some content in there. You know, if you're going to buy 10 laptops for students, you know, what's going to happen? The kids are going to increase their performance in school. They're, you know, I mean, what do you expect to be the impact as a result of that? And hopefully you'll be able to not just say what you expect to be the impact, but have some information as to what you've done in the past to back that up and say, you know, we've provided laptops in the past, and as a result of that, we know that the kids have increased their you know, grade level, their reading level, or whatever by a grade or something like that. That you can back that up to show that you've actually had some positive impact. End date, here you go. That there is reporting that's part of this. It's required. Make sure you complete your reports. I would also say make sure that throughout the process that you're taking photographs and documenting. That's another big thing when the Community Foundation does the thank you luncheon. They want to be able to incorporate pictures and successes and stories from the work that you've done. So make sure that you're documenting that as you go, because you will get an email from the Community Foundation saying, send us your pictures, send us your stories. What did you do? So do that as you're going along so that you have that for the Community Foundation. And you know, this is really important for the funders, right? I mean, they want to know, you know, Mr. Cochran wants to know the impact that the funding has had for kids in the community. He wants to know that, like, that's very meaningful for him. And it supports him to continue to then say, hey, you know what, this next year, I want to do the same thing I did last year, or I want to do more, right? So those stories and those pictures are really important. Let's see, here we go in the financial information. Now, again, now we're in the program and project piece. So put your total program project budget and the amount that you're funding, the funding that you're requesting. So your total project budget might be $30,000 and you're asking $3,000 to do XYZ. And then of course, the question that I know we're all familiar if we've applied through United Way or other funders, you know, they ask the question of, if you don't get all the funding, you know, would the project or program still move forward? So yes or no, and then if yes, you know, make sure you put some content in the partial adjustment box there, so that the Community Foundation, the review committee has an understanding as to how that would be. The other thing is, I think that's important, is, you know, to kind of talk about how you are going to ensure financial sustainability of the program or project. Again, I think many of you have projects going on, and this funding will help just add a little piece to it, but your project is still going to keep going beyond this. It's just going to add an additional, you know, $3,000 to the already probably a menu of other funding that you receive. So I would put a little bit of that in there, saying, you know, we've secured funding, or continually secure funding from other sources, and just so that the review committee, again, doesn't think that, you know, if you don't get this money, that or after a year of this funding, the project's going to go away, because you don't want that to be. Put your list of board members. Really important question here. Hopefully everyone's board's doing this, because it's really important that hopefully 100% of your board is making a contribution that is personally significant. Not every person on a board can give $1,000. That's not always possible, but there's personally significant, meaningful ways that every board member could and should be giving. And then if you have any additional comments, and then finally, this is that opportunity for you to add up to 2 additional slides, or 2 additional documents that are important, that you think would be important for the review committee to be aware of and to review. So once you have all that completed, you click submit, and you'll receive, or you could save and then go back to the application, whatever your wherever you're at in that process. if I remember correctly, once you've submitted, you get an email saying your application's been submitted. And that's pretty much it. I don't know if folks have questions, if Nancy or any of the Community Foundation grant review selection committee has comments that they want to add, or Larry or Kathy. Just going to check the chat box here really quick. Let's see, there are questions here. How do we update our GuideStar profile? Okay, you should have a login, register username and password. You'll have to create a username and password, of course. And then you should be able to associate, you have to be able to associate your username and password with your organization profile. Hopefully you have one. I would say that if you have questions about that as you go forward, feel free to reach out to the Community Foundation, or I'm happy to work with any nonprofits that need to kind of work through that. Just reach out and let us know. But I know that it does a good job. GuideStar, or now Candid, does a good job of kind of walking you through the process and what you need to upload and add and boxes you have to check and things like that. Kathy says it's a competitive process. The evaluators will determine which grants an application qualifies for. Submit one application to be considered for all or any. So again, in the past, for those who have applied, you could say, I want to apply for Cochrane, or I want to apply for Cochrane and Reese. This year, you put one application and the review committee will figure out where is the best fit based on your program. What if you have, Vicki from the Rescue Mission, what if you have a different grant, if you have different grant applications for different grants available based on the qualifying categories, such as kid-oriented programs, but also adult-oriented programs? Items with asterisks are required. I would say, Vicki, and for all of you, if you've got multiple things that you're focusing on adults, you're focusing on kids, I would make that clear in your description, and let the review committee, they're going to put you in where it's going to be the best fit. And it might end up being you get a little bit of Cochrane and you get a little bit of Reese. They'll figure that out based on all the applications that are submitted in the grant requirements. You need to go to GuideStar to update your profile. Yep. Oh, there's the GuideStar. Thanks, Nancy, for putting that in there. Please send pictures of success. Are general operating unrestricted proposals awarded, or have they all been specific project-based awards? I'll let the Community Foundation folks respond to that, but I would say that to think about, this funding again is $1,000 to $3,000. So, do you need some laptops? Do you need supplies, art supplies for kids? Things like that. We're not talking about, 10, 20, 30,000 or $50,000. So we'd love at some point for that to be the case. But I don't know if the Community Foundation folks want to respond, or if there's anyone on the call from the review committee.
No, that would be, you're sizing up there, Kim. That's pretty much exactly correct.
Okay, thanks, Larry. And then the question: would two applications be submitted if there are grants with different priorities? Again, I think what the Community Foundation is saying is submit one application. In your program description, put down what are you proposing, and then they will make the determination as to where the best fit is based on the funding available. If you're going to do a mural, a kid's mural project, and you're going to provide food for homeless adults, those are two separate programs. Put your programs in the description and lay it out just like that. And then when the review committee reviews it, my understanding is that they'll be like, oh, Homeless services, that's Reese. Let's allocate this amount of money. Children's services, that's going to be Cochrane. Let's allocate this amount of money. There won't be two separate applications. One application per organization is how they've changed the process this year.
Kim, this is Kathy Napier. I'm on that committee.
Hey, Kathy.
Hey, just want to add, no, if they're two separate, totally separate projects, totally separate purposes, and totally separate different funds, it would be better to submit it as two different applications. It'd be clearer for the committee reviewing it that way.
So if there's a kid folk, well, let me see. Let me go in here actually. So I'm at the population served. So it sounds like, Kathy, what you're saying is, because there is a distinction between children and adults, right?
Right.
So if your program is children specific, then submit a children specific application. And then if you also have a program that is families, adult, veterans, animals, other, submit that as a separate application. Is that, would that be correct?
Yeah, yes, I think families are going to be a little bit hard to do. So that if it's a family or a child, I keep that as together. But if you've got a program, like you got a day camp for kids, but then you've also got literacy for adults. Those are two completely different scopes and two completely different projects. So submit those separately.
Okay, so there you go. You got it straight from the review committee person, Kathy. There, go with what she said. That's the way to do it. Two separate applications. Thanks, Kathy.
Absolutely, Kim, thank you for doing a great job as always. Really appreciate this.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm happy to do it.
It's fantastic. As a reviewer, what I would like to ask is, when you're writing your applications, really focus on how you're going to measure success, because it is a competitive process and we have limited funds and quite a few submissions. So it's going to be the reviewers committee's obligation to select the ones that we think are going to be the most successful and have the largest impact. So how do you measure that, and how are you going to be able to say it was successful is very, very important in that application process.
That's really good. That's good, Kathy. I'm just looking here briefly at the questions in the chat. Edwina has asked audited financials for small organizations under 100K or under 50K. Where's the review committee on that? I mean, I know there's audited financials and then there's financial review. So is there, I mean, it's some type of a review or audited financial needs to be included in the as an attachment. Is that correct, Kathy?
Yes, that is correct. We need to make sure it's legitimate and it's been reviewed, because that's our responsibility to make sure that we're giving them any funding to a reputable organization.
And then there was a question about, let's see. Okay, I think that Nancy had responded to the question. I'm trying to see if there's a way to. I remember there was a way to pull down a PDF version of the application. Oh, here it is. I don't know if you guys can see this question list. Can you see the question list, the question list button here that I don't know, hopefully you can see this. If you click on the question list button, which is in that upper right of the application, it will give you a PDF version of all of the questions that you need to respond to. Now it's PDF, so you can't go in there and unless you have, the PDF software that you can make edits to the PDF. But you can at least see the questions and then on a Word document, type your responses and then go back go back into the actual application and then copy and paste, right? So again, that button is right above the application. You see the application tab on the left, and on the right is the question list. So just click that to get the PDF. And again, Nancy put the link in there for the portal. You'll have to have a username and password to log in. So if you don't have that, you'll have to get one. You'll have to set one up. If you have any issues with the portal, don't hesitate to reach out to Kathy Weiss. She's great to kind of help you work through stuff. She'll get you set up. She'll get you hooked up. So don't hesitate to reach out. Shoot Kathy an email. And with that,
Kathy does have her hand up. Kathy, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to make reference to the fact Kim showed when she was working her way through this application that there is a follow-up report due, months after the application was submitted. And I want to mention to the folks who did receive grants this past cycle from Cochrane or from Reese, that there are the follow-up documents due for last year's grants. Now, they're not due until May. I don't remember that specific date, but I would urge you, if your project has already completed, that you go ahead and submit that follow-up document. You'll find it in your portal. You'll find it on your dashboard. It's sitting there waiting for you to fill it out, because you're submitting that in a timely manner will be a plus if you're being considered for grants in this new cycle.
Thanks for that, Kathy. Yeah, that is definitely, that is so important. Again, this is a competitive grant process, and I know, having participated in the review committee, several years ago, that there are lots of applications that are received, and you want to make sure that you do everything you can. GuideStar, transparency seal, get your report in on time. All of that stuff. You want to do all of that stuff, because when it comes down to being competitive, when the review committee is looking at, potentially 150 applications, if you haven't followed some of the directions from the previous grant cycle, the chances are you're going to fall lower on the list for the new cycle. So definitely make sure you get the report done. That's really important. Any final questions? We're at 1 o'clock. Want to be respectful of everyone's time. Any questions? Any final comments from Larry, Nancy, Kathy, any of the other review committee members? Kathy Weiss.
Kim?
Yeah.
And this is Kathy Weiss. You were mentioning that applicants can look at the question list for the application, to be able to view the questions and get a sense of them and all that. That will be true once the application goes live on April 4th. They cannot see anything until it all goes live on April 4th. But as soon as that happens, then they can look at the questions, they can start to compose answers. If they're real go-getters, they can go ahead and submit their application right away. But the application window will be open from April 4th to May 2nd.
Thanks for that, Kathy. Another great point. And correct me if I'm wrong on this. If someone has username and password for the portal, they will receive an email when that application opens up. Is that correct?
Yeah, I will send a reminder email. Oh, and one other thing, if any of you are applicants in the portal, if you have an account in the portal, you're asked to give an email account, and that's how we contact you. Every now and again, somebody will have multiple email accounts and they may not think to monitor this one. And then you won't be seeing notifications and messages. So do remember to monitor your email just to be on top of things.
Great. Well, excited. It's always wonderful. I mean, you know, having been in nonprofits for years and in the whole funding world, we are certainly blessed here to have the Community Foundation. Not every community has a Community Foundation, and the Community Foundation is continuing to grow and try and build its assets so that it can support our local nonprofits. You know, excited about, you know, all of the nonprofits applying. Put your best foot forward. Take the time, be planful, get all your documents together, do the GuideStar thing. If you have any questions, reach out. I know the Community Foundation staff and review committee are awesome. So good luck to you all.
Thank you so much, Kathy Weiss, Kathy Napier, Kim, and for this wonderful presentation. Greatly appreciate it. Good luck, everybody, as Kim already said.